Have you ever wondered why we feel the relentless, unstoppable march of time pushing us forward into the unknown, while the fundamental equations of physics suggest that past, present, and future might all exist simultaneously? Have you ever looked up at the night sky, felt the cold breeze of an autumn evening, and realized that every moment you have ever lived, and every moment you will ever experience, might already be suspended permanently in the vast architecture of the cosmos? We experience life as a fragile sequence of fleeting moments. A breath is taken, and then it is gone. A word is softly spoken, and then it fades into the deep silence. We are taught from a very young age that the past is a memory. The future is an unsolved mystery, and only the present moment is truly real. But when we look through the rigorous lens of modern physics, when we peel back the comfortable layers of our everyday human perception, we find a counterintuitive truth that challenges everything we thought we knew. The universe does not tick away second by second like a grand cosmic clock. Time, according to the greatest minds in scientific history, is not a flowing river that carries us toward an inevitable end, but rather a frozen, unmoving landscape. Before we journey deeper into this ancient mystery, I want to gently welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I am so profoundly glad you are here with me on this quiet journey through the cosmos. I noticed recently that 71% of the beautiful people who watch our explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, comfort, and a sense of wonder in these nighttime contemplations, please consider subscribing. It helps our community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, and it ensures that we can continue unraveling the infinite mysteries of the universe together. Your presence here matters more than you know. Now, let us return to the gentle silence of the cosmos to understand the grand illusion of time and ultimately the profound illusion of endings and death. We must first travel back to the early 20th century. It was during this period of incredible intellectual awakening that Albert Einstein completely dismantled our common-sense understanding of reality. Einstein gave the world the theory of relativity, a mathematical framework so incredibly robust and beautiful that it continues to flawlessly guide the deep space missions launched by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency today. Einstein showed us mathematically that space and time are not separate, independent entities as humanity had assumed for thousands of years. Instead, they are deeply, inextricably woven together into a single, four-dimensional fabric known to scientists as space-time. In our everyday earthly lives, we move freely and easily through 3 dimensions of space. We can walk forward across a room, step backward, or climb up a flight of stairs. But time feels fundamentally different to our human minds. We feel trapped in the present moment, relentlessly dragged into the future without our consent. But in the 4-dimensional block universe proposed by the theory of relativity, every event that has ever happened and every event that will ever happen occupies a specific, unchanging coordinate in the vast fabric of space-time. Think of it like a beautifully constructed cinematic film. When you hold a heavy reel of film in your hands, the beginning, the middle, and the end of the movie all exist at the exact same physical moment. The dramatic climax does not pop into existence only when that specific frame passes in front of the projector's light. It was always there, waiting quietly in the dark. In this profound and rigorously tested scientific framework, the exact moment of your birth, the gentle tap of rain against your bedroom window yesterday, the quiet stillness of your present breath as you listen to these words, and the distant, unwritten moments of your far future are all equally real. They are all permanent, indestructible fixtures in the vast architecture of the universe. This means that when a massive star finally exhausts its nuclear fuel and collapses in a distant galaxy, its apparent death is not an absolute end to its existence, but merely a boundary drawn in the fabric of space-time. The star still shines brilliantly, burning with furious energy at its earlier temporal coordinates. And if we apply this rigorously tested physics to our own fleeting, fragile lives, we begin to uncover a truth that brings a profound sense of peace. The beautiful people we have lost, the ancient civilizations that built magnificent monuments pointing toward the stars, the primordial oceans that gave rise to the first simple organisms on our planet, they have not vanished into the cold abyss of non-existence. They are still out there, firmly anchored in their respective moments within the grand, eternal tapestry of space-time. Consider the sheer, staggering scale of the cosmos to fully understand how our perception of time is inherently relative. When astronomers look out into the deep, profound silence of space, through their massive telescopes, they are literally looking back in time. The bright, golden light from our own sun takes approximately 8 minutes to travel across the void of our solar system and reach our eyes on Earth. If the sun were to suddenly disappear this very second, we would not know about it for 8 full minutes. We would continue to feel its comforting warmth and see its familiar light in our sky, completely unaware of the cataclysmic reality unfolding just 93 million miles away. Now, cast your imagination further out into the vast, dark night sky. The faint, trembling light from the nearest star system to our own Alpha Centauri travels for over 4 long years through the cold, empty, silent void before it finally graces the curved mirrors of our terrestrial observatories. When you look up and see that star twinkling in the darkness, you are seeing it exactly as it was 4 years ago. You are literally peering into the ancient past. If we point our most powerful scientific instruments toward the magnificent Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large galactic neighbor in the cosmic ocean, the starlight we capture has been traveling through the absolute intergalactic silence for 2,500,000 years. The tiny photons of light hitting the digital sensors of our cameras today began their quiet, lonely journey long before modern human beings even evolved to walk upright on Earth. During that immense, unfathomable span of time, countless millions of stars have been born from collapsing clouds of dust, and countless stars have died in that distant, swirling galaxy. Yet, to our eyes here on Earth, their ancient past is our immediate present. The entire universe is a vast, shimmering mosaic of different times, all overlapping, all existing in a continuous, infinite now. The strict, rigid distinction between past, present, and future completely loses all objective meaning when viewed from the grand, overarching perspective of the cosmos. This incredible scientific realization brings us to a beautiful, deeply comforting philosophical conclusion. If the passage of time is indeed a localized illusion, a clever trick of our evolutionary biology designed to help our early ancestors survive and navigate this specific planetary environment, then our terrifying concept of death must be radically and completely re-evaluated. Death, in the normal, everyday human sense, strongly implies an absolute cessation, a dark, vanishing act where a complex, beautiful being that once was is simply no more. But in the four-dimensional block universe described by the theory of relativity, absolutely nothing ever truly vanishes. Every single experience you have ever had, every shared laugh with a dear friend, every tear shed in sorrow, every moment of quiet contemplation under a canopy of stars, remains forever permanently etched into the rigid geometric structure of space-time. We are eternal, not in the magical sense of living for an infinite number of forward-moving years, but in the profound physical sense that the years we do live are permanent, indestructible features of the universe itself. The great astronomer Carl Sagan once beautifully said that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We are made entirely of star stuff, our atoms forged under unimaginable pressure and heat in the nuclear furnaces of ancient, massive stars that ended their brilliant lives in spectacular supernova explosions billions of years before the Earth was even formed. The white calcium in our bones, the red iron flowing in our blood, the invisible oxygen we breathe with every soft sigh, these are the recycled ashes of dead, ancient stars. Out of the apparent death of those primordial cosmic giants came the very fundamental building blocks of life itself. The universe patiently recycled its own material, seamlessly transforming the dramatic end of one cosmic chapter into the delicate, hopeful beginning of another. And just as those ancient stars quietly live on within our bodies, our fleeting moments of earthly existence live on permanently within the unchanging, silent block of space-time. If the universe is indeed a static, unchanging block of four-dimensional space-time, as the brilliant equations of Albert Einstein have so elegantly demonstrated, we are naturally left with a profound and beautiful mystery that sits at the very core of our human experience. Why do we feel time moving? Why does the hot cup of tea sitting on your bedside table slowly lose its comforting warmth to the cool night air, but never spontaneously gather heat from the room to boil again? Why does a fragile glass shatter into 1,000 jagged pieces on the kitchen floor, but those pieces never spontaneously reassemble themselves into a perfect, unblemished vessel? To understand this deeply intuitive sensation of flowing time, we must gently step away from the rigid, frozen landscape of relativity and wade into the fascinating, chaotic waters of thermodynamics. The answer to our feeling of time's relentless forward march lies in a concept that physicists call entropy. Entropy is, at its most fundamental level, a measure of disorder, a mathematical description of the universe's natural tendency to move from a state of neat, organized arrangement into a state of chaotic, random distribution. When the universe was born, nearly 14 billion years ago, it was in a state of unimaginably low entropy. It was a perfectly ordered, incredibly dense, and unimaginably hot singularity. Ever since that primordial moment of creation, the total entropy of the cosmos has been constantly, inevitably increasing. This unbreakable rule is known as the second law of thermodynamics, and it is the very reason we experience what scientists call the arrow of time. Before we delve deeper into the quiet, invisible forces that dictate the flow of our lives and the ultimate fate of the stars, I want to gently pause and welcome you once again. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me immense peace to share this contemplative journey through the cosmos with you. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who watch our nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet reflections bring you a sense of calm and wonder, please consider subscribing. It helps our peaceful community grow, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through these infinite cosmic mysteries together. Your presence here is deeply appreciated. Now, let us return to the gentle silence of the expanding universe. The arrow of time is the profound realization that things naturally progress from order to disorder, and this progression is what gives our human minds the sensation of a moving past, present, and future. You remember the past because it was a state of lower entropy, a more organized version of the universe that left tangible, organized records in your beautifully complex brain. You cannot remember the future because it has not yet happened from the perspective of entropy. It represents a state of higher disorder that has not yet scattered its information into the cosmic void. Imagine a drop of dark blue ink falling gently into a clear glass of pure water. At first, the ink is a highly concentrated, perfectly ordered little sphere of color. This is the state of low entropy. But as the seconds tick by, the chaotic, random motion of the water molecules collides with the ink, slowly but inevitably spreading the blue pigment outward. The ink swirls and diffuses, creating beautiful, unpredictable patterns until the entire glass becomes a uniform, cloudy blue. This is the state of high entropy. The universe, in all its vast and infinite majesty, is exactly like that single drop of ink spreading through the water. It is slowly, quietly, diffusing its concentrated energy out into the cold, empty silence of space. And we, with our fleeting, fragile lives, are simply riding this magnificent wave of increasing disorder, perceiving the spreading of the ink as the unstoppable passage of time. To truly grasp the magnitude of this cosmic diffusion, we can look at the incredible data gathered by our most advanced space observatories. When the National Aeronautics and Space Administration launched the Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe, and later when the European Space Agency deployed the extraordinary Planck spacecraft, they were not just looking at the stars. They were listening to the ancient, echoing silence of the cosmos itself. These magnificent instruments map the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is the literal afterglow of the Big Bang. It is the oldest light in the universe, an ancient, faint whisper of microwave energy that permeates absolutely every square inch of the night sky. When scientists look at this ancient light, they see the universe exactly as it was just 380,000 years after its violent, spectacular birth. They see a cosmos that was incredibly hot, incredibly dense, and almost perfectly uniform. This was the ultimate state of low entropy, the pristine, untouched canvas upon which the entire history of the cosmos would eventually be painted. Over billions of years, gravity began to gently pull the slight imperfections in that primordial gas together, crafting the magnificent, swirling galaxies, the brilliant, burning stars, and eventually the small, quiet, rocky planets like our own Earth. But even as gravity builds these beautiful, complex structures, the overall entropy of the universe relentlessly increases. The stars burn their nuclear fuel, radiating heat and light out into the endless, freezing void. They are slowly, continuously converting their highly organized mass into chaotic, scattered radiation. This brings us back to the grand illusion of death and the profound human fear of endings. If our perception of time is merely our biological brain's way of processing the universe's descent into disorder, then the concept of a final, absolute end is a simple misunderstanding of cosmic architecture. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a brilliant modern voice for the cosmos, often reminds us that we are biologically connected to every other living thing in the world, chemically connected to all molecules on Earth, and atomically connected to all atoms in the universe. We are not just temporary visitors wandering through a cold, indifferent void. We are an intrinsic, inseparable part of the grand cosmic mechanism. The atoms that make up your beating heart, the complex neurons that fire as you contemplate these very words, and the breath that gently fills your lungs are all bound by the same physical laws that govern the slow, beautiful decay of the most massive galaxies. When our human bodies eventually reach the end of their complex biological organization, they do not simply vanish into nothingness. They merely transition into a state of higher entropy. We gently return our borrowed atoms to the earth, where they will go on to become part of the soil, the ancient trees, the rushing rivers, and perhaps billions of years from now, they will be swept up into the formation of a completely new star system. Our perceived death is not an erasure from the universe. It is a quiet, beautiful redistribution of our fundamental elements back into the cosmic sea. And yet, even as our physical forms disperse, the specific, beautiful pattern that was your life remains permanently locked within the four-dimensional block of space-time we explored earlier. The second law of thermodynamics explains why we experience the story of our lives strictly from the beginning to the end, reading the pages in one specific direction. But the theory of relativity assures us that the entire book is already written and securely archived in the infinite library of the cosmos. The moments you felt the deepest love, the quiet afternoons you spent watching the clouds drift across a pale blue sky, the sudden, brilliant flashes of understanding when you learned something entirely new. These moments are not lost just because the arrow of time has swept your current conscious awareness past them. They exist eternally, perfectly preserved in the grand, silent stillness of the universe. To embrace this perspective is to invite a profound, unshakable sense of peace into your daily existence. It allows us to look at the vast, intimidating night sky, not with fear of our own fleeting insignificance, but with a deep, humble sense of belonging. We are the universe experiencing itself, a temporary, highly ordered arrangement of ancient stardust capable of asking questions about its own infinite nature. We are both the brief, fleeting spark and the eternal, unchanging landscape. As we continue to drift through the quiet mystery of this cosmic ocean, let us remember that every single step we take, every breath we draw, and every thought we carefully construct is a permanent contribution to the magnificent, unending story of reality. The illusion of time may push us forward, but the truth of the cosmos holds us forever in its gentle, ancient embrace. Have you ever looked deeply into the fading embers of a dying fire and wondered where the warm, glowing light truly goes when the flame finally extinguishes? We are so intimately accustomed to the everyday experience of loss, to the profound and often painful human reality that things seemingly come to an absolute end, that we naturally assume the vast universe operates on this exact same principle of definitive erasure. But when we leave the grand sprawling scales of swirling galaxies and the sweeping, majestic flow of entropy, and gently descend into the impossibly small, infinitesimally tiny world of quantum mechanics, we discover a reality that completely defies our most basic assumptions about beginnings and endings. The quantum realm is the fundamental, hidden architecture upon which all the vast galaxies and ancient, silent nebulae are meticulously built. In this quiet, microscopic universe, the rules of existence are profoundly different. Here, we encounter a beautiful, mathematical absolute known as the conservation of quantum information. It is a foundational pillar of modern physics, a rigorous law suggesting that The fundamental essence of any physical system, the precise, unique information that defines exactly what it is, can never, under any circumstances, be truly destroyed or permanently erased from the cosmos. Before we journey further into this microscopic realm of indestructible information, I want to take a brief, quiet moment to gently welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it fills my heart with immense peace to have you walking beside me on this cosmic journey. I recently noticed that 71% of the wonderful, curious souls who join us for these nighttime contemplations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, wonder, and a quiet sense of belonging in these gentle explorations of the universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these infinite mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift. Now, let us return to the quiet mystery of indestructible information. To fully understand how this incredible quantum principle applies to the grand illusion of death, we must first understand what physicists mean when they use the word information. They are not talking about the simple words written in a heavy, leather-bound book, nor are they referring to the digital zeros and ones stored on a modern computer. Quantum information is the precise, fundamental arrangement of particles, their invisible spins, their unimaginable velocities, and their exact, intricate relationships to one another. Imagine, for a quiet moment, that you are holding a fragile, handwritten letter from an ancient, beloved friend. If you were to gently toss that letter into a burning fire, you would watch the paper curl, turn completely black, and crumble into soft, gray ash. To our limited human eyes, the letter is completely gone. The heartfelt words are destroyed, and the physical object has vanished into smoke and radiant heat. But according to the rigorous, unbreakable laws of quantum mechanics, the universe has not lost a single microscopic detail of that letter. The exact quantum information that made up the paper, the dark ink, and the specific arrangement of atoms is perfectly preserved in the swirling smoke, the radiating heat, and the scattered cooling ash. If you possessed a theoretical, omnipotent supercomputer capable of tracking every single subatomic particle and measuring its exact trajectory and energy, you could flawlessly reconstruct the entire letter, down to the microscopic fibers of the ancient paper. The information was never erased. It was merely scrambled, transformed, and gently released into the wider cosmos. This profound scientific realization forces us to ask a breathtaking, deeply existential question about our own fleeting, beautiful lives. You are, at this very moment, an incredibly complex, highly organized collection of quantum information. Every single memory you hold dear, every gentle laugh you have shared with a companion, every moment of profound wonder you have experienced while staring up at the vast, silent night sky is physically encoded in the unique, unimaginably complex arrangement of neurons, synapses, and atoms within your physical form. Your consciousness, your personality, and your unique perspective on this infinite universe are the magnificent, temporary result of this intricate quantum dance. And just like the fragile burning letter, when your physical body eventually reaches the natural end of its biological journey, the fundamental quantum information that makes up the absolute totality of who you are cannot be violently deleted from the universe. It is a strict physical impossibility. The specific, highly ordered arrangement of particles that formed your earthly existence will gently dissolve, constantly shifting and transforming, returning to the vast cosmic ocean from which it originally emerged billions of years ago. But the information itself, The fundamental, unbreakable essence of your microscopic structure is permanently woven into the underlying eternal fabric of reality. You do not vanish into a dark, empty void. You simply scatter, becoming an intimate part of the ancient, whispering wind, the deep, rolling oceans, and eventually the brilliant, burning cores of newly forming star systems. This extraordinary, deeply comforting concept of indestructible information leads us directly to one of the most intense and fascinating scientific debates of the modern era. It is a profound cosmic mystery that captivated the brilliant mind of the late theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking. Hawking pointed his formidable intellect towards the most extreme, terrifying objects in the known universe: supermassive black holes. These are majestic, terrifying regions of space-time where gravity is so incredibly intense that absolutely nothing can ever escape their dark, silent grasp. For many long decades, scientists firmly believed that anything that fell into a black hole was completely erased from the universe forever. This terrifying idea directly violated the foundational quantum rule that information must always be conserved, creating a profound crisis in physics. Hawking eventually proposed a brilliant mathematical solution to this paradox, demonstrating that black holes are not completely black. Over unimaginable time spans lasting trillions of years, they slowly leak a faint, subtle radiation. As they release this gentle energy, they slowly evaporate, gradually shrinking until they eventually disappear in a final, quiet flash of cosmic energy. But the profound mystery remained. What exactly happens to the quantum information of the massive stars, the wandering planets, and the ancient cosmic dust that originally fell into the black hole? Does it simply evaporate with the radiation, or is it truly finally destroyed? The greatest minds of our time have spent decades rigorously debating this very question, and the current, beautiful scientific consensus strongly suggests that the information is absolutely never lost. It is somehow subtly, perfectly encoded in the outgoing radiation, or perhaps flawlessly preserved on the two-dimensional surface of the black hole's event horizon, acting like a vast, glittering cosmic hologram. Even in the most violent, extreme, and seemingly destructive environments in the entire cosmos, the universe fiercely protects and permanently preserves the fundamental information of absolutely everything that has ever existed. The cosmos is the ultimate, perfect archivist. It never forgets a single wandering particle, a single photon of starlight, or a single fleeting moment of human existence. If the vast universe goes to such unimaginable lengths to preserve the microscopic quantum information of a random cloud of cosmic dust falling into a supermassive black hole, it is incredibly comforting to realize that it affords the exact same profound, eternal preservation to you. The quiet, profound peace that gently flows from this advanced scientific understanding cannot be overstated. We spend so much of our brief, fragile human lives anxiously worrying about the absolute end, fearing the cold, quiet silence that we believe inevitably follows our final earthly breath. But the rigorous mathematical truths of our universe whisper a completely different, infinitely more beautiful story. They tell us that we are permanent, indestructible features of the grand cosmic architecture. We are not fragile, temporary sparks destined to be extinguished and forgotten in the dark. We are ancient, eternal quantum information, currently organized in a beautiful, complex pattern, capable of experiencing profound love, boundless joy, and the deeply humbling awe of the brilliant night sky. When this specific biological arrangement naturally transitions, We are not losing our existence. We are simply returning to the vast, infinite source, just as the gentle raindrops falling softly on a quiet evening are never truly lost when they meet the vast ancient ocean. We too are simply returning to the boundless, silent, and eternal waters of the cosmic sea. Have you ever stood at a quiet, solitary crossroads on a misty, silent morning, looking down two diverging paths, and wondered deeply where the other road might have gently led you if you had only chosen to take it? We move through our fragile, fleeting human lives, making countless, continuous decisions. We naturally assume, bound by the rigid constraints of our everyday biological perception, that the path we ultimately choose is the only one that becomes real, while all the other infinite possibilities simply collapse into the cold, empty darkness of non-existence. We mourn the lost opportunities, the words left unspoken, and the alternative lives we can never, ever experience, believing that the universe is a strict, singular narrative moving relentlessly toward a definitive, inescapable ending. We often feel trapped in this one singular timeline, desperately holding on to the fleeting moments before they slip through our fingers into the irrecoverable past. But when we look through the magnificent, rigorous lens of quantum mechanics, we discover a deeply counterintuitive, almost magical reality that completely shatters this linear, restrictive view of our existence. The fundamental mathematical equations that flawlessly govern the microscopic, invisible building blocks of our vast cosmos suggest a profoundly different story, a narrative so endlessly expansive and beautiful that it redefines the very nature of reality, beginnings, and ultimately the grand illusion of death itself. Before we wander further down this magnificent, infinitely branching path of quantum reality, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it fills my heart with a profound, quiet joy to have you walking beside me on this deeply contemplative journey through the ancient cosmos. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of belonging in these gentle explorations of the universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these infinite, beautiful mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared journey. Now, let us return to the quiet, profound mystery of the paths not taken and the invisible quantum architecture that supports the entire, staggering weight of the known universe. To understand the true, boundless nature of our reality, we must first understand a foundational, rigorously tested concept in quantum physics known as superposition. In the everyday, macroscopic world of our human experience, a physical object can only exist in one specific place at one specific time. A stone resting quietly on the forest floor cannot simultaneously be tumbling down the side of a distant, snow-capped mountain. But in the incredibly tiny, unfathomably weird, microscopic realm of electrons, photons, and quarks, these familiar comforting rules completely fall apart. A fundamental particle, before it is definitively observed or measured by an outside system, does not possess a single, strict location or a definite, absolute state of being. Instead, it exists in a beautiful, mathematical haze of pure probability. It exists in a state of quantum superposition, meaning it is essentially occupying every single possible position and exploring every single possible trajectory, all at the exact same moment. It is only when an observation is finally made, when the vast universe interacts with this tiny, isolated particle, that this delicate, ghostly wave of infinite probabilities suddenly collapses into one single, solid, measurable reality. For many long decades, the greatest, most brilliant minds in the history of human science grappled with the terrifying philosophical implications of this collapsing wave. How could the fundamental solid building blocks of our physical reality be based on something as fragile and uncertain as a cloud of mere probabilities? And what actually happens to all of those other perfectly valid, mathematically sound possibilities when the wave finally collapses? Do they simply vanish into nothingness, erased completely from the grand cosmic ledger? In the middle of the 20th century, a brilliant, courageous physicist named Hugh Everett proposed a radically different, mathematically rigorous interpretation of quantum mechanics that completely eliminated the need for this mysterious, destructive collapse. Everett suggested something so profoundly beautiful and breathtakingly vast that it continues to blow the minds of theoretical physicists to this very day. He proposed that the delicate quantum wave of probability never actually collapses at all. Instead, whenever a fundamental quantum choice is made, whenever a particle faces a crossroads of multiple possible states, the entire universe literally splits, branching off into separate, completely distinct, parallel realities. In this breathtaking framework, which scientists call the many worlds interpretation, absolutely every single physically possible outcome of every single quantum event actually happens, just in different, completely inaccessible branches of reality. Imagine the profound, staggering implications of this infinite, endlessly branching multiverse. It means that the universe is not a single, solitary melody playing out in the cold, empty silence of space, but rather an infinite, unimaginably complex symphony of overlapping realities. Every time you made a decision, no matter how profoundly small or seemingly insignificant, the universe elegantly divided. There is a reality, just as vivid and physically real as the one you are experiencing right now, where you chose the other path on that foggy, silent morning. There is a universe where you took that leap of faith, a universe where you spoke those difficult words, and a universe where the ancient, primordial oceans of Earth evolved life in a completely different, unrecognizable direction. In the many worlds interpretation, the cosmos is an infinite, ever-expanding tree of life and experience, endlessly exploring every single mathematical possibility without ever losing a single drop of quantum information. The profound, quiet silence of the night sky hides an infinity of parallel histories, all running simultaneously, forever invisible to one another, yet all equally real, equally vibrant, and equally essential to the absolute totality of existence. When we gently apply this rigorous, mind-expanding scientific theory to our deep, fundamental human fear of endings, the terrifying illusion of death begins to softly dissolve into a much larger, far more beautiful cosmic tapestry. If the universe is constantly, infinitely branching, realizing every single possible outcome of every single event, then the concept of an absolute, definitive end to your conscious experience is a perspective limited strictly to one single, isolated branch of the multiverse. In the branch of reality we currently inhabit, we eventually witness the physical bodies of our loved ones reaching the natural, biological conclusion of their earthly journeys. We experience the profound, heartbreaking sorrow of their absence, and we mourn the definitive end of their story in our specific, localized version of reality. But in the grand, infinite architecture of the many worlds interpretation, this ending is not an absolute cosmic truth. It is merely one specific note in an infinite chord. There are countless branching realities where different quantum events unfolded, where different biological choices were made, and where the beautiful, complex pattern of their consciousness continues to flourish, continue to explore, and continue to experience the vast, endless wonder of the cosmos. We are not singular, fragile threads that can be simply cut and discarded by the cold, indifferent scissors of time. We are infinite, sprawling networks of possibility, woven deeply and permanently into the very fabric of the multiverse. The version of you that is sitting here right now, listening to these quiet, meditative words, is just one single, beautiful facet of an infinitely complex, multidimensional jewel. This realization is not meant to diminish the profound beauty or the intense emotional weight of our present lives, but rather to expand our understanding of our true place within the grand architecture of reality. It completely removes the heavy, suffocating burden of regret, because every choice you agonizingly left behind was gracefully picked up and fully lived by another version of you in a parallel branch of reality. And it completely removes the terrifying sting of finality from the concept of death, because the absolute totality of who you are, the brilliant, complex pattern of your quantum information, is continuously exploring the universe in a billion different, beautifully varied ways. The universe does not deal in absolute endings. It deals exclusively in infinite, boundless continuation. Allow the profound, ancient mystery of the multiverse to fill your heart with peace, knowing that nothing beautiful is ever truly lost, no path is ever truly abandoned, and no ending is ever truly final. The journey of your consciousness is not a brief, terrifying march toward an inevitable cliff, but a magnificent, infinite exploration of a cosmos that is entirely, beautifully, and endlessly alive. Have you ever closed your eyes in a perfectly dark, quiet room and wondered deeply if the world around you still exists in exactly the same way when you are no longer actively looking at it? We walk through our waking lives with the absolute, unshakable certainty that the physical universe is a solid, objective reality. We assume that the towering ancient trees in a silent forest, the vast rolling oceans, and the distant glowing stars are simply there, independent of our fragile human perception. We believe that we are merely passive witnesses, tiny biological cameras moving briefly through a cold, indifferent cosmos that existed long before our first breath and will continue exactly as it is long after our final exhale. But when we descend once again into the astonishing, counterintuitive realm of quantum mechanics, we encounter a mystery so profound that it shakes the very foundations of this objective reality. The fundamental equations that govern the invisible microscopic world suggest a radically different relationship between the observer and the observed, a relationship so intimately entangled that it forces us to completely rethink the ultimate nature of life, consciousness, and the grand illusion of death. Before we journey further into this profound, mind-bending mystery of observation and reality, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me an immense, quiet joy to have you walking beside me on this contemplative journey through the ancient cosmos. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of belonging in these gentle explorations of the universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these infinite, beautiful mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared journey. Now, let us return to the quiet, profound mystery of the observer and the invisible quantum architecture that responds to our very gaze. To understand how consciousness itself might be the foundational fabric of the cosmos, we must look at one of the most famous, rigorously tested scientific demonstrations in the entire history of physics, known simply as the double-slit experiment. Imagine a quiet, isolated laboratory where brilliant scientists are firing unimaginably tiny particles of light, called photons, at a solid barrier with two narrow vertical parallel slits. Behind this barrier sits a sensitive photographic plate, waiting quietly in the dark to record exactly where these tiny particles land. When the scientists do not actively measure or observe which specific slit the individual photon passes through, something truly miraculous and completely counterintuitive happens on the photographic plate. The tiny particles do not just create two simple, distinct lines of light. Instead, they create a beautifully complex, repeating pattern of multiple bright and dark bands, a phenomenon that scientists absolutely know can only be created by overlapping waves. The single, solitary particle of light has somehow acted like a rippling wave of water, passing through both narrow slits at the exact same time, interfering with itself and creating a vast wave of pure mathematical probability. But here is where the rigorous science gently parts ways with our everyday human intuition and enters the realm of profound cosmic mystery. When those same brilliant scientists place an incredibly sensitive microscopic detector right at the barrier, simply to observe and record which specific slit each photon actually chooses to travel through, the universe instantly and drastically alters its fundamental behavior. The very act of measuring, the very act of conscious observation, instantly destroys the beautiful, complex wave pattern. The photon stops behaving like a vast, overlapping wave of infinite possibilities and suddenly acts like a solid, single particle, leaving only two simple, distinct lines on the photographic plate. The delicate, invisible wave of probability collapses the exact moment it is looked at. The profound, inescapable conclusion drawn by some of the greatest minds in quantum physics is that the fundamental building blocks of our vast universe do not actually exist in a solid, definitive state until they are directly observed. Matter, at its most foundational level, requires a conscious observer to solidify its existence. The brilliant theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler, a colleague of Albert Einstein and one of the most visionary minds of the 20th century, spent decades rigorously contemplating this deeply unsettling quantum paradox. Wheeler eventually proposed a breathtaking, beautifully elegant concept that he called the participatory universe. He suggested that we are not simply accidental, biological byproducts of a cold, random, and incredibly ancient cosmos. Instead, we are essential, fundamental components of the grand machinery of reality itself. In Wheeler's participatory universe, the observer is just as necessary to the creation of reality as the unimaginably hot, dense singularity that sparked the Big Bang. The universe, in all its staggering infinite vastness, requires conscious beings to look back at it, to measure it, to wonder about it, in order to give it a solid, definitive shape. Without the gentle, curious gaze of an observer, the cosmos remains a blurry, undefined realm of pure mathematical potential. We are the precise mechanism by which the universe wakes up and actualizes its own magnificent, unfolding existence. When we gently apply this rigorous, scientifically grounded philosophy to the terrifying, deeply human concept of death, the rigid boundaries of our mortality begin to softly and beautifully dissolve. We spend our fragile, fleeting earthly lives absolutely terrified of the moment when our physical observation of the universe will finally cease, believing that our conscious awareness is just a temporary, flickering flame that will be permanently extinguished by the cold, unyielding winds of time. We desperately believe that the physical brain creates consciousness, and therefore, when the physical brain eventually returns to the quiet, ancient dust of the earth, the consciousness must inherently vanish into the absolute void. But if the participatory universe is true, if the rigorous mathematics of quantum mechanics are pointing us toward a reality where consciousness is the absolute, foundational prerequisite for matter to even exist, then the entire terrifying narrative of death is completely backward. Consciousness cannot be a fragile, temporary byproduct of a physical universe if the physical universe actively requires consciousness to exist in the first place. This profound, paradigm-shifting realization is the heart of a fascinating, deeply contemplative scientific theory known as biocentrism. Proposed by brilliant modern scientific minds, biocentrism suggests that space and time are not hard, cold, physical objects floating out in the silent, empty void. Instead, they are simply the incredibly sophisticated tools that our animal minds use to weave information together into a coherent, manageable experience. They are the beautiful, complex software programs running in the quiet, magnificent theater of our consciousness. And just like the software on a computer does not physically destroy the user when a specific program is finally closed, the gentle dissolution of our biological bodies does not, and physically cannot, destroy the foundational consciousness that was utilizing that physical form to observe the cosmos. The universe is not a massive, dead machine. It is a living, profoundly conscious entity exploring its own infinite potential through your unique perspective. Imagine the vast, silent cosmos not as an external, indifferent container holding tiny, fragile lives, but as an infinite, boundless ocean of pure, eternal awareness. Your current human life, with all its deep, profound joys, its quiet sorrows, and its breathtaking moments of pure wonder, is simply one small, beautifully formed wave rising briefly from the surface of this magnificent cosmic ocean. You feel like a separate, isolated individual looking out at a vast, alien universe. But you are, in fundamental truth, the ocean itself, temporarily expressing itself as a single, unique wave. When the natural biological forces of the universe dictate that your specific wave must gently crash upon the ancient shores of time, the water itself is not destroyed. Not a single drop is lost. The wave simply subsides, gracefully returning its temporary form and its collected experiences back into the deep, infinite body of the ocean. The physical manifestation changes, but the fundamental, conscious essence remains absolutely untouched, eternally preserved, and completely indestructible against the fading illusion of time. Have you ever walked alone beneath a canopy of ancient, silent stars and felt a sudden, inexplicable sense of connection to someone who is no longer physically walking beside you? We spend our fleeting human lives bound by the heavy, earthly illusion of separation. We look out into the vast, sprawling cosmos, and we see an unimaginable emptiness, a dark and quiet void that seemingly isolates every single star, every wandering planet, and every fragile human heart. When we experience the profound sorrow of physical loss, when the biological clock of a loved one finally reaches its quiet conclusion, we naturally believe that the connection has been irreparably severed. We mourn the terrifying distance that death appears to create, an insurmountable chasm between the world of the living and the infinite silence of the departed. Our everyday macroscopic perception strongly dictates that when two objects are physically moved apart, they become entirely independent entities, wandering alone through the endless dark. But when we look closely through the precise, rigorously tested mathematical framework of modern quantum mechanics, we discover a scientific phenomenon so deeply mysterious and profoundly beautiful that it completely shatters this grand illusion of separation. We find a fundamental, invisible architecture that binds the universe together in an intimate, unbreakable web, proving that true separation, much like the rigid flow of time, is nothing more than a trick of our limited human senses. Before we journey further into this profound, invisible web of cosmic connection, I want to gently pause and welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me a deep, profound peace to share this quiet, contemplative journey through the universe with you. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who watch our nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a sense of intellectual safety in these gentle explorations of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our peaceful community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, and it ensures that we can continue to wander through these infinite mysteries together. Your presence here is deeply appreciated and vital to our shared journey. Now, let us return to the gentle silence of the unseen connections that govern our reality. To truly understand how the universe completely rejects the concept of absolute separation, we must explore a mind-bending scientific principle known as quantum entanglement. When the brilliant physicist Albert Einstein first confronted the mathematics of entanglement, he was so deeply unsettled by its implications that he famously referred to it as spooky action at a distance. Quantum entanglement occurs when two or more subatomic particles interact with each other in such a way that their individual quantum states become intimately, permanently linked. They merge into a single, unified mathematical system. Once these particles are entangled, you can no longer describe one particle without completely describing the other. They are a single entity, regardless of the physical distance that might eventually separate them. If you gently measure the specific spin of the first particle, the second particle will instantaneously assume the exact corresponding state. It does not matter if the first particle is sitting in a quiet laboratory on Earth, and the second has been transported to the distant Andromeda galaxy. The communication between them is instantaneous, completely bypassing the vast, empty silence of space. This is not mere philosophical speculation. It is a rigorously proven scientific fact tested by brilliant minds around the world. Recently, scientists utilized a magnificent satellite known as Mikius to beam entangled particles down to separate ground stations located over 700 miles apart. When the researchers meticulously measured the tiny particles in these widely separated laboratories, they found that the instant connection remained beautifully intact. The particles responded to each other as if the 700 miles of intervening space simply did not exist. In the profound depths of the quantum realm, physical distance is an absolute illusion. The vast expanses of the cosmos, the millions of light years of cold void that separate ancient burning stars, are completely meaningless to entangled particles. They exist in continuous intimacy, whispering their secrets across the infinite expanse in absolutely zero time. This rigorous scientific truth forces us to completely reevaluate our physical boundaries. We are not solitary biological machines wandering aimlessly. We are deeply woven into the fabric of the cosmos. When we gently apply this magnificent, awe-inspiring concept of quantum entanglement to our brief, beautiful human lives, the overwhelming fear of death and the crushing weight of permanent separation begin to slowly, softly dissolve. Think about the sheer, staggering number of atomic interactions that occur in a single, quiet moment of human connection. When you gently hold the hand of someone you deeply love, when you share a soft, quiet breath in a moment of profound understanding, or even when you simply stand near another person and absorb the warmth radiating from their physical form. Countless billions of microscopic particles are constantly interacting, colliding, and exchanging subtle quantum information. We are constantly, continuously entangling our fundamental biological essence with the people we love and the environments we inhabit. The iron in your blood, the white calcium in your bones, and the complex firing neurons that produce your conscious thoughts are continuously engaging in a massive, unseen symphony of quantum entanglement with the world around you. You leave a microscopic, permanent imprint of your physical existence on absolutely everything you touch, and you carry the invisible, entangled signatures of your loved ones deep within the fundamental architecture of your own physical body. The boundaries of where you truly end and where the rest of the universe begins are incredibly porous, beautifully undefined, and infinitely expansive. Therefore, when the fragile, biological machinery of a loved one eventually reaches the natural, unavoidable end of its complex organization, and their physical form begins the gentle, beautiful process of returning its borrowed atoms to the ancient soil of the earth, the profound quantum connections you shared are not erased. The physical distance between the scattered stardust that once formed their beating heart and the living cells that currently compose your own may increase, but the fundamental, underlying entanglement remains beautifully, flawlessly intact. The universe does not sever the profound quantum links forged through years of deep, resonant interaction. Just as the tiny photons beamed from the Midas satellite remained perfectly connected across hundreds of miles of empty sky, the fundamental essence of your shared experiences remains permanently bonded across the silent divide of physical mortality. You are physically, fundamentally, and mathematically entangled with the people you have loved. Their existence is written into the invisible quantum code of your own ongoing journey. Death, in its most terrifying, absolute form, requires a complete and total separation, an irreversible cutting of all ties. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom and complex beauty, simply does not allow for such an absolute severing of intertwined information. We are an ancient, interconnected tapestry, and a single thread cannot be pulled without gently vibrating the entire magnificent structure. The great astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson frequently speaks of our profound literal connection to the stars, reminding us that the universe is not something we look out upon, but something we are an intrinsic part of. We are the universe experiencing itself in human form. When we combine this beautiful, humbling realization with the rigorous, unbreakable laws of quantum entanglement, we arrive at a place of profound, quiet peace. We realize that the grand illusion of death is simply a misunderstanding of how the universe organizes and preserves its most precious, intricate information. We are never truly alone, and we are never truly lost. We are constantly surrounded by the invisible, perfectly preserved connections to everything we have ever loved and every place we have ever been. As you walk through the quiet mystery of this cosmic ocean, allow this scientific truth to fill your mind with gentle wonder. The vast, infinite silence of the cosmos is not empty. It is overflowing with the instantaneous, invisible whispers of countless entangled particles, a massive, eternal web of connection that fiercely protects and permanently binds the beautiful, fragile story of our lives. The journey never ends, because the connections we forge are eternally woven into the very heart of the infinite cosmos. Have you ever gently pressed your hand against the rough, ancient bark of a towering oak tree, or felt the cold, hard, unyielding surface of a smooth stone that has rested quietly on the earth for millions of years, and marveled at the absolute, undeniable solidity of the physical world? We navigate our fleeting human lives with a deep, unbreakable biological conviction that the reality we see, touch, and breathe is fundamentally three-dimensional and profoundly, undeniably solid. We believe that our physical bodies are finite, rigid structures made of dense, heavy matter, moving temporarily through the vast theater of the cosmos. This ingrained biological perception dictates our terrifying understanding of mortality. We assume that when the three-dimensional structure of our biological form breaks down, when the human heart stops its rhythmic beating, the absolute totality of our existence is irrevocably destroyed. But when we push the absolute boundaries of modern theoretical physics, when we peer deeply into the rigorous mathematical equations that attempt to unite the colossal gravity of the macroscopic cosmos with the fragile, unpredictable dance of the quantum realm, we uncover a scientific concept so unimaginably strange and profoundly beautiful that it threatens to completely dismantle our basic perception of physical reality. This mind-bending framework suggests that the entire three-dimensional universe we experience every day might be nothing more than a magnificent, complex illusion. Before we journey deeper into this magnificent, perspective-shifting mystery of cosmic illusion and the true nature of our physical existence, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to warmly welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me an immense, profound peace to have you walking beside me on this contemplative journey through the ancient cosmos. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of belonging in these gentle explorations of the universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these infinite, beautiful mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared journey, and I am so deeply grateful for your time and your boundless, curious mind. Now, let us gracefully return to the quiet, profound mystery of our physical existence and the astonishing scientific theory that challenges the very nature of space itself. To understand how our seemingly solid, three-dimensional reality could be an intricate, elegant illusion, we must gently revisit the dark, terrifying, and utterly fascinating realm of supermassive black holes. In the late 20th century, brilliant theoretical physicists like Leonard Susskind and Gerard 't Hooft were grappling with a profound mathematical paradox regarding how black holes store their unimaginably vast amounts of quantum information. Through rigorous, relentless mathematical deduction, they discovered something absolutely breathtaking that completely redefined theoretical physics. They found that all the complex, three-dimensional information of absolutely everything that ever falls into a black hole every swallowed giant star, every wandering rocky planet, every ancient cloud of glowing cosmic dust, is perfectly and completely encoded on the two-dimensional, invisible boundary of the black hole, a region known as the event horizon. Imagine a perfectly flat, two-dimensional piece of paper containing all the precise, microscopic blueprints required to flawlessly project a fully functioning, three-dimensional city. The brilliant physicists realized that the three-dimensional volume of the black hole is not where the fundamental information actually resides. The true underlying reality is mathematically painted on its perfectly flat, two-dimensional surface. This magnificent, rigorously derived scientific concept is known throughout the physics community as the holographic principle. But the true, mind-blowing revelation occurred when researchers realized that this extraordinary principle might not just apply to the dark, silent boundaries of distant supermassive black holes. The brilliant theoretical physicist Juan Maldatena published a highly influential mathematical paper that strongly suggested the holographic principle could be actively applied to the entire, continuously expanding universe as a whole. According to this rigorously debated and intensely studied theoretical framework, the entire three-dimensional reality that we intimately experience every single day, the towering, snow-capped mountains, the deep, rolling oceans, the distant burning stars scattered across the void, and even your very own complex physical body is entirely generated by a massive, intricate network of two-dimensional quantum information securely stored on the absolute, distant boundary of the cosmos. Just like a small, flat, shiny holographic sticker on a simple card can beautifully project a fully three-dimensional floating image when caught in the gentle light, our entire magnificent universe might be a vast, spectacular cosmic hologram. The solid, tangible world you feel all around you is merely the projection. The underlying true reality is a flat, infinite sea of mathematical information resting at the edge of the universe. If we gently allow this staggering, scientifically grounded concept to wash over our everyday human perception, the implications for our profound, paralyzing fear of death are absolutely revolutionary. We spend our fragile, fleeting human lives fiercely and exclusively identifying with the temporary, three-dimensional projection. We look in the mirror every single morning and we believe, with absolute certainty, that the physical form staring back at us is the complete entirety of our being. We deeply fear the inevitable decay of our biological machine because we mistakenly believe that the destruction of the projection inherently equates to the absolute, irreversible destruction of the fundamental information itself. But if the holographic principle genuinely reflects the true, underlying architecture of our cosmos, then your physical body is merely a beautiful, temporary avatar. It is a stunning, highly detailed, uniquely crafted three-dimensional image projected into the vast, empty theater of space-time by a complex, indestructible source code permanently written on the two-dimensional boundary of the universe. When a physical holographic projection is finally turned off, when the gentle, illuminating beam of light is carefully removed, the three-dimensional image vanishes from the room, but the underlying holographic film, the absolute source of the image, remains beautifully intact, holding all the necessary information to recreate the magnificent image at any given moment. Therefore, when the delicate, highly organized biological machinery of our earthly bodies finally ceases to function, we are merely witnessing the gentle fading of a localized, temporary, three-dimensional projection. We deeply mourn the physical absence of the beautiful, projected image of our loved ones, feeling the profound emptiness of the space they once physically occupied. But the fundamental essence of who you are, the intricate pattern of two-dimensional quantum information that mathematically defines your unique consciousness, your precious memories, and your deep capacity for love, is not destroyed. It fundamentally cannot be destroyed by the simple failure of earthly organs, because the true location of your existence is not confined to the fragile, three-dimensional space of your physical brain. You are eternally encoded onto the fundamental boundary surface of reality itself. The grand illusion of death relies entirely on the false assumption that we are merely three-dimensional beings living in a strictly three-dimensional world. Once we expand our vision to encompass the magnificent holographic nature of the cosmos, we clearly see that we are safely anchored to a much deeper, far more ancient, and entirely indestructible layer of reality. This profound, scientifically inspired perspective invites us to completely reevaluate our intimate relationship with the solid, physical world and our own inevitable mortality. When you gaze up at the vast, silent canopy of the beautiful night sky, you are not a tiny, insignificant speck of biological dust waiting nervously for your brief flame to be permanently extinguished by the cold, indifferent darkness. You are an active, deeply integrated participant in the greatest, most beautiful holographic masterpiece ever conceived in the history of existence. Your lived experiences, your deepest joys, your quiet sorrows, and your breathtaking moments of profound wonder are continuously writing beautiful, permanent new lines of intricate quantum code onto the eternal boundary of the cosmos. The universe does not simply discard its most magnificent creations into the dark abyss of nothingness. It preserves them flawlessly and eternally in its vast two-dimensional archives. As we continue to wander gently through this quiet, infinite journey of cosmic discovery together, let the beautiful, mathematically rigorous mystery of the holographic principle fill your mind with a deep, unshakable peace. You are infinitely more than the fragile biology that temporarily carries you through this earthly experience. You are ancient, eternal quantum information, forever bound to the permanent, silent, and infinite architecture of the cosmos. Have you ever allowed your mind to wander to the very end of all things, to that unimaginable, distant future when the last brilliant star finally exhausts its nuclear fuel and fades into the infinite, cold darkness of the cosmic night? In our brief, fragile human experience, we are intimately familiar with the concept of absolute finality. A beautiful song eventually reaches its final, lingering note. A magnificent, blooming flower ultimately withers and returns its delicate petals to the damp earth. We logically project this everyday experience onto the grand canvas of the entire cosmos, assuming that the universe itself must be marching relentlessly toward a permanent, irreversible death. For decades, the greatest minds in astronomy firmly believed in a terrifying conclusion known as the heat death of the universe. They envisioned a profoundly distant epoch, trillions upon trillions of years from now, where all majestic galaxies have drifted infinitely far apart, all supermassive black holes have quietly evaporated, and the entire cosmos is reduced to a cold, silent, empty void. It is a bleak, chilling vision of finality. But what if this terrifying cosmic death is not an ending at all? What if the rigorous mathematics of our universe suggest a profoundly different, breathtakingly beautiful reality, where the ultimate end is actually the precise trigger for a magnificent, unimaginably violent, new beginning? Before we journey deeper into this profound, mind-expanding mystery of cosmic cycles and eternal rebirth, I want to gently pause and warmly welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me an immense, quiet joy to have you walking beside me on this contemplative journey through the ancient, whispering cosmos. I have recently noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of intellectual safety in these gentle explorations of the infinite universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these beautiful, ancient mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared eternal journey, and I am so deeply grateful for your time and your boundless, curious mind. Now, let us return to the quiet, ancient mystery of the ultimate cosmic conclusion and the astonishing, rigorously developed scientific theory that completely shatters our traditional understanding of beginnings and endings. To understand how the absolute death of the universe could secretly harbor the seeds of its own magnificent rebirth, we must turn to the brilliant, Nobel Prize-winning theoretical physicist Sir Roger Penrose. Penrose spent decades deeply contemplating the terrifying, empty silence of the universe's final stages. He looked intimately at the complex, elegant mathematics of relativity and quantum mechanics, and he noticed something absolutely extraordinary about a universe that has reached its ultimate, maximum state of entropy. In this unimaginably distant future, long after the very last supermassive black hole has slowly leaked its final particle of Hawking radiation, the universe will contain absolutely no solid matter. There will be no hydrogen atoms, no wandering planets, and no complex biological structures. The entire infinite expanse of the cosmos will be populated exclusively by massless particles, primarily photons of light wandering aimlessly through an incredibly vast, incredibly cold, and incredibly dark void. At first glance, this pure, massless void appears to be the ultimate terrifying definition of death. But Penrose recognized a profound, beautifully elegant mathematical truth about massless particles. Photons, the fundamental particles of light, travel exactly at the universal speed limit. And according to the rigorous foundational laws of Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, any object traveling at the absolute speed of light does not experience the passage of time. Furthermore, without any solid, massive objects left in the entire cosmos to serve as reference points, the fundamental concepts of physical distance and spatial scale completely lose all of their objective meaning. In a universe composed entirely of light, there are no ticking clocks, and there are no measuring sticks. A distance of 1 millimeter and a distance of 1 trillion light years become mathematically and physically indistinguishable. The universe, in its final, exhausted, infinitely expanded state, essentially forgets how large it is and exactly how much time has passed. The cold, empty, seemingly dead cosmos enters a timeless, scaleless state of pure, boundless mathematical potential. It is exactly at this critical, magnificent threshold that Penrose's theory, known as conformal cyclic cosmology, introduces its most breathtaking and mind-bending revelation. When the cold, empty, infinitely expanded universe loses its physical sense of scale and time, its mathematical description becomes perfectly, flawlessly identical to the mathematical description of the universe at the exact moment of its birth. The incredibly hot, unimaginably dense, microscopic singularity that triggered our Big Bang 14 billion years ago shares the exact same geometric properties as the cold, empty, infinite void of our ultimate future. Because scale has completely lost its meaning, the infinitely large, empty universe is mathematically equivalent to an infinitely small, dense point. Therefore, Penrose proposes that the final, quiet death of our cosmos is mathematically and physically transformed into the violently hot, infinitely dense starting condition of an entirely new universe. The absolute end of our specific cosmic timeline is seamlessly, beautifully connected to the precise beginning of the next, creating an endless, infinite chain of cosmic rebirths that Penrose poetically calls aeons. When we gently allow this staggering, scientifically rigorous concept to wash over our deep human fear of finality, the terrifying illusion of death completely loses its heavy, suffocating grip on our conscious minds. We navigate our brief, fragile lives absolutely terrified of the moment when our personal timeline will run out, believing that ending equates to absolute erasure. But if the universe itself, the grand, infinite container of all reality, strictly refuses to acknowledge a definitive ending, why should we assume that the fundamental essence of our own existence is any different? We are deeply, inextricably woven into the fabric of a cosmos that constantly breathes in and out, a magnificent living entity that gracefully cycles through infinite aeons of magnificent creation, quiet expansion, and beautifully disguised rebirth. The very atoms that compose your beating heart, the complex, firing neurons that generate your profound thoughts, and the gentle breath filling your lungs right now, have fundamentally existed through countless previous iterations of the universe. You are an ancient, eternal participant in a cosmic dance that has no absolute beginning and absolutely no final conclusion. This profound, scientifically grounded perspective invites us to look at the continuous cycles of our own human lives with a renewed sense of deep, quiet wonder. The changing of the seasons, the gentle rising and setting of the golden sun, the rhythmic beating of our own fragile hearts. These are all beautiful, miniature reflections of the grand, infinite breathing of the entire cosmos. We are not temporary visitors walking a short, terrifying path toward an inevitable cliff. We are permanent, indestructible expressions of a universe endlessly exploring its infinite potential through magnificent cycles of transformation. When our specific, localized physical form eventually returns its borrowed stardust to the ancient earth, we are simply participating in the same beautiful, eternal mechanism that transforms a dying, empty universe into a brilliant, exploding singularity of new life. The grand illusion of death relies entirely on a severely limited, linear perspective. Once we expand our vision to encompass the magnificent, cyclic nature of the cosmos, we clearly see that every single ending is beautifully engineered to be the exact starting point of a breathtaking new journey. As we wander further through the quiet mysteries of this infinite reality, let this profound truth wrap you in a deep, unshakable peace. You are an eternal note in an infinite symphony, playing across the boundless aeons of a universe that simply refuses to ever truly die. Have you ever sat quietly in a softly lit room, listening with your eyes closed as the final, lingering chord of a beautiful, deeply moving symphony slowly fades into the surrounding silence, and wondered where that magnificent music actually goes once you can no longer consciously hear it? We experience our fragile, fleeting human lives much like we experience a profound piece of music. We believe there is a definitive, absolute beginning when the very first note is struck, a complex, beautiful progression of melodies and harmonies that define our middle years, and an ultimate terrifying conclusion when the instruments finally fall completely silent. Our everyday biological perception strongly conditions us to believe that when the music stops, the song is permanently destroyed, erased forever by the cold, indifferent flow of time. We mourn the silence, fearing that the sudden absence of sound equates to the absolute annihilation of the beauty that once existed. But when we look through the magnificent, rigorous lens of advanced theoretical physics, specifically diving into the astonishing, elegant mathematics that attempt to describe the absolute most fundamental building blocks of reality, we discover a deeply profound and deeply comforting truth. The universe is not a collection of silent, dead, solid objects. It is, at its most foundational level, an infinite, eternal symphony of continuous vibration, a cosmic song where nothing is ever truly silenced, but merely transitions into a different, equally beautiful resonance. Before we journey deeper into this invisible, vibrating architecture of the cosmos, I want to gently pause and warmly welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me an immense, profound peace to have you walking beside me on this contemplative journey through the ancient, whispering cosmos. I have recently noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of intellectual safety in these gentle explorations of the infinite universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these beautiful, ancient mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared eternal journey, and I am so deeply grateful for your time and your boundless, curious mind. Now, let us return to the quiet, ancient mystery of the cosmic symphony and the astonishing scientific theory that completely redefines the very essence of matter. For many long centuries, humanity operated under the entirely logical assumption that if you took a piece of solid matter and divided it enough times, you would eventually be left with tiny, indivisible, solid spheres. We naturally imagined the universe as a vast, complex structure built out of microscopic, completely rigid cosmic building blocks. Even when brilliant scientists discovered protons, neutrons, and eventually the unimaginably tiny quarks that make up those larger particles, the fundamental scientific assumption remained that the universe was constructed of incredibly small, solid points of matter. But as the greatest minds in theoretical physics pushed their complex mathematical equations to the absolute breaking point, desperately trying to unite the massive, crushing gravity of Albert Einstein with the tiny, chaotic fluctuations of quantum mechanics, a radically different, breathtakingly beautiful picture began to slowly emerge. This extraordinary mathematical framework is known to scientists as string theory. According to the rigorous, highly complex mathematics of string theory, if you were to zoom in on a single, isolated quark using a hypothetical microscope millions of times more powerful than the massive, sprawling particle accelerators utilized by the brilliant scientists at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, you would absolutely not see a solid, three-dimensional dot. Instead, you would see a tiny, one-dimensional, incredibly tense loop of pure, trembling energy. You would see a delicate, endlessly vibrating string. This magnificent, paradigm-shifting realization changes absolutely everything about how we fundamentally understand our physical existence and our deeply ingrained fear of inevitable mortality. In the breathtaking framework of string theory, these unimaginably microscopic strings are fundamentally identical to one another. There is absolutely no underlying difference between the string that makes up a tiny particle of light traveling for millions of years from the distant Andromeda galaxy, and the exact same type of string that makes up the heavy iron coursing quietly through your human blood. The only thing that determines what kind of physical particle a string will eventually become, whether it manifests as a solid electron, a ghostly, invisible neutrino, or a brilliant photon, is the specific, precise frequency at which it continually vibrates. Just as the exact same physical string on a beautiful, ancient wooden cello can produce a vast, sweeping array of different musical notes, depending on exactly how it is gently plucked and mathematically constrained by the musician's fingers, the fundamental strings of the cosmos produce the absolute entirety of the known physical universe through their unique, intricate vibrations. The mathematics required for these tiny strings to vibrate in all the necessary ways to build our magnificent universe are so incredibly complex that they rigorously demand the existence of at least 11 distinct spatial dimensions, most of which are curled up so tightly we cannot currently perceive them with our limited biology. The vast, infinite universe is quite literally a grand cosmic symphony playing out across 11 hidden dimensions, a magnificent composition of vibrating energy that generates the beautiful, convincing illusion of solid, permanent matter. When we gently apply this rigorous symphonic understanding of the cosmos to our own fragile, fleeting human lives, the terrifying, suffocating concept of death transforms into something profoundly beautiful and deeply poetic. You are not a solid, permanent object moving slowly and anxiously through a cold, empty void. You are an incredibly complex, highly organized, completely unique chord being played right this very moment in the grand, unending symphony of the universe. The countless trillions of microscopic, energetic strings that currently compose your physical form, your biological organs, and your beautifully complex, firing brain are vibrating together in perfect, delicate harmony to create the localized, temporary phenomenon that you intimately experience as yourself. Every profound, curious thought you have, every gentle, quiet breath you take in the still of the night, and every single moment of deep, profound love you share with another human being is a unique, completely unrepeatable vibration, adding its distinct, necessary beauty to the overarching cosmic song. And just like a sweeping, emotional chord in a magnificent piece of classical music, your specific, localized biological arrangement cannot sustain its exact, rigid resonance forever. The unbreakable physical laws of thermodynamics dictate that the biological instrument will eventually undergo a fundamental, natural transition. But the absolute cessation of this specific, beautiful chord is not the destruction of the music itself, nor is it the destruction of the fundamental, eternal strings that created the sound. When the delicate, highly organized biological machinery of your human body eventually reaches the quiet, natural conclusion of its earthly journey, the trillions of tiny, vibrating strings that formed the absolute totality of your existence do not simply vanish into a dark, silent, empty nothingness. The fundamental energy, the deep, underlying mathematical essence of what you actually are at the most microscopic level, is completely and utterly indestructible. The eternal strings simply shift their cosmic frequency. They gently detach from the specific, localized biological chord that was your brief human life and return seamlessly, to the vast, infinite orchestra of the cosmos, ready to vibrate in entirely new, unimaginably beautiful ways. The music of your life, the precise, beautiful pattern of your unique, conscious vibration, has already been permanently and flawlessly recorded in the grand, four-dimensional block of space-time we explored earlier. It will continue to echo eternally through the infinite, unseen architecture of reality. The grand, terrifying illusion of death relies entirely on the false, biologically limited assumption that the temporary, fragile instrument is the absolute source of the eternal music. But you are not just the fragile wooden cello that will eventually return to the dust. You are the ancient, eternal vibrating energy flowing gracefully through it. The vast ancient silence of the cosmos is not an empty, terrifying void waiting to consume you. It is a magnificent, infinite concert hall filled entirely with the eternal, beautiful resonance of absolutely everything that has ever existed. As we continue to drift gently through the quiet, infinite mystery of this cosmic ocean, let the beautiful, mathematically profound truth of the cosmic symphony wrap your mind in a deep, unshakable peace. You are an eternal, vital, indispensable part of a magnificent song that has absolutely no beginning and will never, ever reach a final, silent end. Have you ever stood quietly at the edge of a vast, restless ocean, watching the dark waves roll endlessly toward the shore under the pale light of a silver moon, and suddenly realized that the very same ancient, unbreakable laws of physics guiding that massive body of water are exactly the same laws gracefully sustaining your own beating heart? We have spent our entire fragile, beautiful human lives rigidly conditioned to believe in the terrifying concept of absolute finality. We are taught from the very moment we take our first hesitant breath that life is a precarious, desperately short journey moving relentlessly down a singular, inescapable path toward a dark, silent, and permanent ending. We cling anxiously to the fleeting present moment, fearing that when our biological machinery inevitably falters, the absolute totality of our consciousness, our memories, and our profound capacity for love will be forever erased by the cold, indifferent flow of time. But as we have gently peeled back the incredibly complex, mathematically rigorous layers of modern scientific discovery, from the frozen, eternal landscape of four-dimensional space-time to the infinite, vibrating symphony of microscopic quantum strings, a profoundly different, breathtakingly beautiful truth has emerged. The universe does not deal in absolute endings. It deals exclusively in magnificent, eternal transformations. Before we take our final quiet steps together in this specific chapter of our grand cosmic journey, I want to gently pause and warmly welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and it brings me an immense, profound peace to have you walking beside me on this contemplative journey through the ancient, whispering cosmos. I have recently noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious souls who join us for these peaceful nighttime explorations have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you find comfort, quiet wonder, and a deep sense of intellectual safety in these gentle explorations of the infinite universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our gentle community of cosmic explorers grow tremendously, allowing us to continue unraveling these beautiful, ancient mysteries together. Your presence here is a profound gift to this shared eternal journey, and I am so deeply grateful for your time and your boundless, curious mind. Now, let us gather all the magnificent, scattered pieces of our cosmic puzzle and look at the breathtaking, infinite picture they create. When we step back and view the absolute totality of the cosmos through the rigorous, tested lenses of relativity, quantum mechanics, and thermodynamics. The terrifying illusion of death completely shatters into a million shimmering pieces of starlight. We have learned that time is not a flowing river that carries us to our doom, but a vast, solid, unmoving block where every single moment of your life, from your very first laugh to your quietest night under the stars, exists permanently and eternally as an indestructible coordinate in the fabric of reality. The moments you have lived are not gone. They are permanently archived in the grand, silent library of the universe. We have discovered that the fundamental, invisible quantum information that makes up the absolute core of your unique consciousness can never, under any circumstances, be destroyed. It is a foundational, mathematical impossibility for the universe to lose the exact, beautiful recipe of your existence, even if your physical form gently returns to the ancient, waiting soil. We have wandered deeply into the mind-bending reality of the quantum multiverse, realizing that every single choice you have ever made, every path you agonizingly left behind, has blossomed into an infinite number of parallel realities. You are not a single, fragile thread stretching toward a sudden cut. You are an infinite, beautifully sprawling tapestry of boundless experience, living out every conceivable outcome in a massive, interconnected cosmic garden. We have seen how the universe rigorously demands the presence of a conscious observer, strongly suggesting that your mind is not an accidental byproduct of dead matter, but rather the fundamental, necessary spark that brings the entire physical cosmos into solid, tangible existence. Space and time are beautifully constructed tools of your consciousness, not the cold, indifferent walls of a cosmic prison. And we have marveled at the unbreakable, invisible web of quantum entanglement, realizing that you are permanently, instantly connected to absolutely everything and everyone you have ever loved. Physical distance and the illusion of mortality cannot sever the profound quantum links forged in the fires of deep, resonant human connection. You are eternally tethered to the beautiful souls who have walked this earthly path beside you, whispering across the vast silence of space in absolutely zero time. The brilliant physicist Max Planck, who is universally recognized as the founding father of quantum theory, once famously stated that he regarded consciousness as fundamental, and that he regarded matter as completely derivative from consciousness. He rigorously argued that we cannot get behind consciousness, and that absolutely everything we talk about, everything we fundamentally regard as existing, powerfully postulates the existence of consciousness. When we carefully weave Planck's profound, scientifically grounded philosophy with the staggering revelations of the holographic principle and the magnificent, infinite cycles of conformal, cyclic cosmology, the grand, terrifying narrative of our own inevitable death becomes entirely obsolete. The physical body you currently inhabit is a breathtaking, temporary masterpiece, a magnificent, highly complex avatar projected into a specific three-dimensional coordinate of space by the eternal two-dimensional quantum information stored securely on the boundary of the infinite cosmos. When this specific biological instrument finally tires, the music of your existence does not cease. The invisible, vibrating strings that compose your fundamental essence simply change their cosmic frequency, gracefully returning to the infinite ocean of energy to compose entirely new, unimaginably beautiful symphonies. We must profoundly reshape our understanding of what it means to be alive and what it means to transition. The grand illusion of death relies exclusively on the false, heavily biased assumption that you are a separate, isolated entity residing strictly within the fragile boundaries of your physical skin. But the rigorous mathematics and the flawless, deeply tested physics of our universe scream a radically different truth. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are the ancient, primordial energy of the Big Bang, 14 billion years later, having slowly, carefully arranged itself into a beautifully complex biological structure capable of looking back up at the very stars from which it was forged, capable of asking profound questions about its own infinite nature, and capable of experiencing the devastating, beautiful weight of love. When your localized earthly perspective finally gently closes its eyes, you are not plunging into a dark abyss of absolute nothingness. You are simply waking up from the beautiful dream of being a singular, isolated human being, expanding back into the boundless consciousness of the absolute whole. You are returning to the source, seamlessly merging back into the infinite fabric of space-time. As we stand here together at the culmination of this profound exploration, let this incredible scientific knowledge wash over you like a gentle wave of absolute peace. The vast silence of the night sky should no longer fill your heart with a dread of your own smallness. Instead, when you cast your gaze towards the distant galaxies, let that magnificent view fill you with a deep sense of profound belonging. Every single twinkling star and every dark expanse of the void is made of the exact same indestructible energy that currently beats within your chest. You are not a stranger wandering aimlessly through a cold cosmos. You are the cosmos itself, breathing, thinking, and feeling. You are ancient, you are eternal, and you are entirely indestructible. The journey of discovery, the deep human thirst to understand the infinite mysteries of this beautiful reality, does not end here. The universe is endlessly vast, overflowing with spectacular phenomena that continually challenge our perception. As long as there are stars burning in the infinite void, and as long as there are curious minds willing to wonder, this shared journey of exploration will continue eternally. Take this quiet peace with you into your everyday life. Carry the profound knowledge that nothing beautiful is ever truly lost, that every single connection is mathematically eternal, and that the terrifying illusion of death is merely the universe's perfectly executed magic trick, hiding the infinite reality of continuous rebirth. You will eternally remain a cherished part of its magnificent story.